Yo, 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 guys, it's Old Man G here, back again with another match preview. We're previewing Leicester City versus Manchester United. I'm joined by LCFC BOYA, bro, Ant. How you doing? Thank you so much for coming onto the channel. How you doing, Chief?
No, I'm really good, mate. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed our chat before our game on Boxing Day, so I'm looking forward to this, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's game. So should be fun.
No, I mean, if I recall, I think wasn't that we drew? I think wasn't it? I think it was away. I think we drew
Yeah,
in that game
me
because
too.
so I mean, and the thing is, a lot has much changed actually to be honest with the game because if you'd agree, Leicester City and Manchester United's form of last season, they've probably been the most consistent teams in the league. Would you say, and obviously going on to the first segment, have Leicester City so far they met? I know there was obviously a knockout, unfortunately, to Slavia Prague, but would you say Leicester City have so far matched your expectations for the season?
I would say they've completely exceeded them because in my Premier League predictions before the start of the season, and I've got to be honest, I was in a bit of a down before the start of
Mm,
the season because of how last season finished. I
mm.
predicted that we would be 12th at the end of this season. So
Oh
if I'm
wow,
honest,
okay.
he completely exceeded it. And that was as well. We sold Chilwell and Castagne. If I'm honest, I wasn't convinced by him, but then he's come in and been absolutely brilliant. Same as Fofana, absolutely brilliant. So
Mm,
I think I was a little bit worried there was going to be a hangover of the end of last season carrying on into this season, but
mm.
it hasn't been at all. We've started fresh and just completely gone again, which credit to Brendan Rodgers. He deserves
Yeah.
a lot of credit for that.
Yep, I agree. And, I don't think any of us expected Liverpool to capitulate in the way that they have. I mean, I know there's still, I think, eight or nine, I think 9 games so to go, but you'd imagine that the top four certainly the top three is probably going to be similar unless Leicester City and Manchester United in particular absolutely capitulate up until that point. Um, do
Touch
you
wood.
think,
It's safe to say.
yeah,
Touch wood. I've been there last season and I was confident.
well, we have to play you. I think we still have to play you again in the league. I think you have to come to Old Trafford,
Mm.
which I think will be interesting. But then we have to still play Liverpool and a few other teams. But do you think that obviously Champions League back to Champions League football? Do you think that will be a boost for Leicester in terms of bringing potential recruitment players? Taking them to the next level.
For sure. And I also think something that you guys probably don't have to worry about as much as us if we miss out on Champions League football is the
Mm,
fact that we'll be able to hold on to players like
yeah,
James Maddison, Yuri Tielemans,
yeah,
Siunchu, Fofana. So not only bringing in players, but also holding on to the squad that we've got. Because at the moment, we've got a starting 11 that can compete with almost anyone. But
yeah.
then if those start to get picked off, that's where we could struggle. Like our recruitment's been brilliant over the last couple of years, but it just takes one signing to not be sort of up to the level that you hope, and then you're taking a step backward. So I think getting Champions League football, keeping players is huge. Financial boost to the club's huge, and also
Mm.
just hearing that anthem around the King
Music.
Power again next year. Yeah, you can't beat it.
It does tingle, and as a Manchester United fan who's currently seeing three other teams in the Champions League right now and getting quite worried at the fact that because I don't want any of the other English teams to win for different reasons. I don't want City to win because I don't want that because getting a Champions League almost officially puts them on the level of United in a way, or even surpasses them with how they're recently doing. I don't want Liverpool to win because their fans, despite their season being terrible, they're still going to go into the Champions League regardless. So they're going to be annoying. And Chelsea fans, oh my goodness. So I'm basically rooting for any other team that's not those teams. But I can imagine that coming next season, seeing Leicester City draw in a group, potentially facing like Real Madrid and Bayern, hopefully with fans back in the stadium, must be something that excites you.
Yeah, and it's going to sound strange, but this year I would have been a lot more gutted if we missed out on Champions League and there were fans in the stadium and stuff,
Mm,
because I think half of the atmosphere and half of being at the Champions League, particularly for a club like Leicester, is the whole atmosphere of having
mm,
it at the games, having the fans there and stuff. And
mm,
I think almost it softened the blow the fact that but it was behind closed doors this year. And I would have still loved there to have been there for the Europa Leagues and stuff, but I think it did soften the blow slightly of missing it out at the end of last season, the fact that you couldn't be there. I think that's just because of purely how much I enjoyed the Champions League last time it was at Leicester.
It's just not the same without fans, and the environment and the atmosphere that you get that comes with as you said, the Champions League music, the games, the just the general environment, and just the fact that you are playing on the elite level competition of European football, and that you're going to see teams that you'd never see Leicester City potentially playing against. Suddenly, I don't know when the Champions League draw will be, but suddenly you're seeing top players coming to. You could easily see potentially a PSG versus Leicester City, for example, and suddenly Mbappe is strolling around the King Power Stadium trying to do things. So, but let's tie it back to obviously domestic competition. It is the FA Cup preview, and obviously both teams, I think, going into quite some form. How do you see Leicester City coming into this game? Do you see them coming with form? Do you think they're favourites? Like, how do you think that Brendan Rodgers will sort of approach this game?
I wouldn't say we're favourites just because of how poor our record is against you guys. Okay. But at the same time, I think we've got to be confident. We've just beaten Sheffield United 5-0 at home. We've had a week break. You've played on Thursday night away against Milan. So we saw ourselves firsthand when we lost. We played Slavia Prague on Thursday and then played Sunday against Arsenal. We looked dead on our feet. So I'm hoping that that's the same for you guys. But because like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, there's a lot that you can praise him for this year. But one thing that he has been very stubborn with is going with the same team. I'm hoping he does that again on Sunday, because I really reckon if he does that and we get at you guys from the first minute, we could cause you huge problems.
Well, no, shout out to everyone who's watching and involved in the comments as well. I think I've got Kobe. Shout out to Kobe, Yara and OCR podcasts, and Damon as well. Shout out to who's getting involved. If you have any questions for myself or my BOYA to my side ants, just get them in the comments and we will address them as we go. So let's just quickly go into the predicted 11s right now. How do you think Brendan Rodgers is going to set up? Who do you think is going to start? What are your thoughts on that, mate?
So I'd say you can never be 100% sure, but I'm 95% sure the starting lineup will be with the 3-5-2, where with the two wing backs really getting forward and providing the width, and that's mainly sort of to account with the injuries that we've got of Harvey Barnes, Maddison, just to name a few. So it's sort of making the best of the situation that we've got and adapting, and not crying about our injuries like certain other clubs. Just sort of getting on with it. But so like in goal, it'll be Kasper Schmeichel, who'll be captain. Back three of Siunchu, Johnny Evans, and Wes Fofana. That concerns me slightly. I said it in my own match preview that all three of them in their own right are good centre backs, but Siunchu in a back three sometimes sort of looks slightly lost and sort of slightly loses his position. But I think the more he plays in a back three, the more he'll get used to the system. And then left wing back, Castagnier, right wing back, Mark Albrighton, because Ricky P's injured, which is a huge loss for us. But it's one of those, I'd rather him sit out this game than play the game and make the injury worse. Cool. And then in the pivot of the midfield, so we'll have Ndidi and Tielemans with Iosi Perez, who had a brilliant game against Sheffield United, by the way. I'm hoping he can carry that form on as the number 10, with Iheanacho, the Nigerian R9, and Jamie Vardy leading.
Yes. As a fellow Nigerian, I must confess, when he scored that hat trick, I was shouting. I was like, finally, this guy gets the respect that he deserves, because I think you could see that it meant a lot to him. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you see his speech after as well? I thought his post-match press conference was really nice.
Oh yeah.
I think exactly. he's just a top guy, and I'm really glad that he's starting to sort of come into form. We're starting to see what he's all about, because with Vardy, he's not scoring at the moment, and that doesn't mean he's not having an impact on the games and stuff. But you still need the goals come from somewhere, and Iheanacho stepped up massively.
Exactly. I mean, I literally was going to echo that. Basically, I was like, I think one of the big differences maybe from Leicester City this season, this and last season, that is that it is just the burden has gone. Vardy still scored goals, but I think that you've seen certain players, obviously your Harvey Barnes, your Madisons, your Nachos, and what have you, stepping up a bit and just trying to chip in those goals. And aside from obviously the fact that certain teams have completely capitulated, i.e., Spurs and Liverpool, and definitely Arsenal. In fact, question for you actually before we wrap up is that a lot of fans and pundits and media still talk about the traditional top six. I don't know what that is anymore. But would you say that Leicester City should be considered as part of the big six or top six, especially given where they've been and what you've achieved in comparison to certain other teams like Arsenal and Spurs in recent years?
So I think it's quite an interesting one because I'd say that you've got to sort of distinguish the two because the big six and the top six are two different things. Because the
Mm,
big six, we have nowhere near the fan base in terms of the size that
mm,
Arsenal, Spurs, and the big six, traditional big six have. And
mm,
the big six is all about sort of financial power and all of that, which we can't match that. And the big six are the big six. But in terms of the top six, I think if we carry on of the way that we're going, then for sure we should be in the conversation for it. But at the same time, the top six is just another Sky narrative to sort of try and protect the bigger teams, kind of thing. So it's one of those. I think Sky have made a lot more of it than there's actually there from it. So I'm not too concerned with it.
I just think that you know it's almost like it projects. I agree with you. I definitely do agree with you. But I almost think that it almost projects a false narrative that you're actually more successful than you actually are.
Hmm.
So Spurs, for example, and Arsenal, case in point. Leicester City. Well, let's even take Spurs. You know, they've
But
not won a
I think
trophy.
yeah, the thing about Spurs though is they've got like in terms of the top six, they've consistently been around the top six for years, and well, I know they haven't won the league for a long time, but they I know that people mock them and stuff, but they haven't won trophies. But if you go sort of back to before the Premier League era, they've won a lot of cups and stuff. So
Mm,
what I think it's 18 major trophies for them or something like that. That's off the top of
mm.
my head. So they do have a lot more trophies than we've got and stuff, and they've got the bigger fan base. But for sure, I definitely think over in terms of the future, we can definitely challenge for sort of winning more trophies and being there or thereabouts.
Adage 3 says incoming Vardy hat trick unless Baye plays because he's the only player as crazy as Jamie Vardy. Baye's probably not going to play, and I think if in fact just quickly to sort of round up your I can't just round up your predicted 11 if you would, mate. Before I go on to mine, did you? Yes, I think. Did you finish? I think you must be finished.
Yeah, because I got to Nacho and Vardy.
Yeah, Vardy. Yeah, sorry. So that's my bad. So I'll segue that in. Sorry, into how I think that bearing under Jeffrey's comments, how I think Manchester United are going to line up. Ollie is always pretty much gone with a 4-2-3-1, 4-2-3-1. I don't think that's going to change. My impression is that Bailly is not fit. So that already means that Lindelof and Maguire are probably going to play, which is not really ideal. So Wan-Bissaka and Shaw going to play. He might play Tellez, but I think that with the competition we're playing against, I think he's going to put his strong. Solskjaer is going to play his strongest 11 out, and you're right, and you're saying that it might get tired. The only thing I would say is that there's a possibility that he might play Van der Beek. That's a possibility. If he does play Van der Beek, I'd imagine he'd play McTominay. He'd probably rest Fred and probably play McTominay, Van der Beek, and Bruno. So, I'm not. Would I be surprised if he plays McTominay, Fred? No, but I would have a feeling that given that Pogba and Van der Beek are back, he's going to and haven't played for a while. He's probably going to try and incorporate those two in the team somehow. So what I suspect he'll do is he'll play Van der Beek McTominay, Bruno, because he's always going to play Bruno. And then he's going to play probably Pogba on the left because Martial was injured. Greenwood will probably play through the right. And then he'll probably bring in, well, I think anyway, he should probably either play Daniel James or Amad Diallo because it looks like Rashford is injured or carrying an injury. So I don't think that Rashford should play in this game, should be rested. Personally, I don't think Rashford should go away on England duty either, but it is what it is. So I would say he probably will usher Rashford to the side and play Daniel James or Amad Diallo on that, and Green would essentially be the lone striker, is what I think. How does that sound? I mean, is there anyone in that team that you think Leicester City should be concerned about?
Well, without doubt, like I know a lot of your fans don't like McTominay and Fred starting together, but I think like it's clearly not the job that your fans want them to do. But the fact that you guys get so many clean sheets, like it's clear they're doing something right, kind of thing. So I think that you're going to be hard to break down, and it's just about not getting caught stupidly on the counter by you guys and sort of being aware of the threats that you've got. But the thing, you've got Bruno, who's got world-class numbers, and you just can't argue with that. And then Pogba, who's just, I don't know, I absolutely love watching Pogba, and he can create something out of nothing. And then Rashford, a fully fit Rashford's a scary prospect. A Rashford that's in the sort of shape that he's in at the moment. And I don't mean this in like go out and injuring kind of way, but if he's holding a knock and I'm like Ciancio or Johnny Evans, I'll get stuck into him in the first minute and see if he's about. So, but undoubtedly, you've got players across your pitch, across your team that can hurt us. But at the same time, I think we've got as many players that can cause you problems. So I think it's just as long as we don't show you like too much respect and just sit deep and actually try and have a go at you.
Shout out to Red Devil Lab was watching on Twitch. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. And Kobe Miranda says, would you play Diallo? Yes, I would play Diallo instead of Daniel James because I personally think that from the little I've seen, he's much more of a technical player than Daniel James. But Daniel James seems is ahead of him right now. I would like to see him get more game time. But we'll just see what happens. But right now, Daniel James seems to be being given the go-ahead. I don't know. I don't want to go on a rant here. I don't have any issue with Daniel James as a Manchester United, but he's supposed to be a winger, you know, and I bet sometimes he's played on the left and the right, but it's like, I don't know whether he's a winger or an inside forward or a forward. He doesn't really... He just doesn't make the right decisions, and the amount of times that sorry, go on, man.
Oh, I was going to say, I almost feel the step up from Swansea came too quickly for him. He needed something sort of in between that, if you know what I mean, like because I
thought, to be honest, I generally thought that he was going to be that kind of like another academy youth prospect / squad player. That's what I thought he was brought in to do. I never thought he was brought in to be like a Sancho, or I just thought, okay, this guy's got potential. He might be a good squad player, and then maybe he might step up. What's happened is he's now become almost part of the starting 11, and he's not terrible, but one of the things that Manchester United will struggle, and I'm sure they'll struggle in this game against Leicester, is that if Pogba wasn't playing and if Bruno wasn't playing, we struggle to create chances. We generally struggle to create chances. And for me, Daniel James, the winger, part of his role is to create chances for the forwards. But instead of doing that, he often looks up. 9 times out of 10, he'll try and run at you and lose the ball. And then on the off chance that he does look and actually try and make a pass, it's usually bad, it's usually late, it's usually too early. And so you end up getting quite frustrated watching him play, But Chloe says Dan James only has pace, doesn't have any football intelligence. And sometimes that's what it looks like. He's great if you want to set up a counter-attack and run, which is why anytime we play Daniel James against City, it's great. So if we play City, if we get through and play City in the semi-final, I'll be the first one to say play Daniel James because he'll do the fullbacks, no problem, get into space and cause some problems. But against teams that are a bit more solid and to do with them, it doesn't really work. Would you say there are any players in your squad that you think are weak areas?
I don't think he's a weak area, I don't think he's a weak player. But in the system that we'll play, it's a little bit of a weakness having to play Mark Albrighton as a right wing back. But it's sort of needs must, if you know what I mean, with the injuries that we've got. And he's fully capable of putting a brilliant ball into a box. His defensive work rate, there's not a harder worker in the league than him. It's just he's not quite Ricardo Pereira in terms of what he offers going forward. So it's not ideal, but at the same time, with the injuries we've got, you've got to sort of make do.
Fair. Right. Let's get on to the main event, and that is the combined 11. Before we go into score predictions, so I'm just going to quickly share screen. Let's have a look. Where are we? Here we go. So just check everyone's seeing, so everyone can see that. So first things first, deciding on how we play. So because Leicester, you said that we set up in a almost 3-5-2, and United was set up in a 4-2-3-1. So how are we going to combine this formation? Would you say
I'd say go 4-2-3-1 because we typically play 4-2-3-1. It's just because of the injuries we've got at the moment, but we've adjusted to a 3 at the back.
Okay. Right. So 4-4-2. 4-2-3-1. Okay, right. So let's begin. And obviously get involved in the comments as well. Who do you have in this combined 11? So in goal, Kasper Schmeichel. And the only rules obviously of this is that it's current form and they have to be fit to play the game. That's basically the current rules, really. So from the United side, David De Gea and Henderson are fit to play. So you could pick either one. And obviously you've got Kasper Schmeichel.
I'm going to start by annoying all of your subscribers to start with. Okay. I'm going to go Kasper Schmeichel because I think he's been one of the most underrated keepers this season. Some of the saves he's been pulling off is ridiculous. And it's that whole thing. If he was at a bigger club, he would probably be being touted as one of the players of the season with some of the saves that he's making.
It's difficult, really. It's difficult because I don't think De Gea or Henderson have had bad seasons, but I think unlike previous seasons, you see it's been shared, So Henderson effectively is number 2, but he's effectively played in pretty much all the FA Cup games, all Europa League, 1 or 2 Champions League games, and he's obviously taken off over David De Gea following his paternity. So it's like we haven't. So I'm almost going to say I agree with you giving Kasper Schmeichel simply because he's been there all the time, and I feel that with De Gea and Henderson, even though I think that I would still rank them individually, arguably as better than Kasper. I think because the number one, it's almost like a fight for, I think, the number 1 club United right now. And I don't know who's going to win. So, yeah, I mean, Kobe even says here, and let's do it. Kobe Schmeichel is criminally underrated. He's really good at commanding his box as well. So I think that's the tiebreaker, man. I think we're going to put Kasper Schmeichel as our number 1 keeper. So I definitely concede that.
With Schmeichel as well, I almost feel he's got an impossible task of living up to his dad's reputation. Because like you watch a game on Sky with a Leicester game on Sky, and like Schmeichel can't do anything without being compared to Peter, but who's probably one of the best goalkeepers of the Premier League era. So yeah. I feel like he's like before even he's played a game, he's up against it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, although to be fair to him, he's won a Premier League title, which was this just like? I mean, the joke they always banter Liverpool fans with that, like, his dad and his son won a Premier League title, so before, Liverpool FC did, so I always hold that close to my heart because, 30 plus years. And in that period, Schmeichel, it's crazy. Centre backs here. Now I would put Bay, but I don't think Bay is fit. So I can't put him, which means that I mean, who?
My two would be Evans and Maguire, if I was going to be honest.
Okay.
Like, I know Maguire gets a lot of stick, and I give him my fair share of it. I can't lie.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
and that because he is an £80 million defender, but
Mm.
the price tag isn't his fault, kind of thing.
No,
and
no,
I know he hasn't lived. I know he hasn't lived up to that £80 million price tag, but he's still a decent centre back.
Do I think the thing with a Maguire Evans thing is that I just don't know where the pace is in that. I mean, Lindelof doesn't have pace either. Do I?
That's true. I remember Maguire and Evans playing together against Bournemouth, and Ryan Fraser making himself look like prime Pele when Maguire was still at left.
I mean,
like,
Lindelof does. I mean, Mo says Lindelof and Maguire, and Kobe says Fofana and Maguire. See, Fofana. Go on.
Yeah, I think Fofana. If we do this debate next year and Fofana keeps developing the way he is, I would 100% agree. My only thing with Fofana is he's only had 7 months in England so far. He's been brilliant, but I think it's a bit too quick to sort of put him past someone like Johnny Evans, who's been performing at the top level for 4 or 5 years since he left United. I think he's improved massively, where he's sort of been able to go away from the limelight and sort of develop his game slightly. But West Brom come to Leicester, and I think we've seen really the best Johnny Evans of there is.
Okay. So yeah, Evans and Maguire then. I'm trying to find arguments. I really, really am. But I think the goalkeeping and the centre backs. If Bay was there, I'd defend Bay to the roof, So I think the thing about Eric Bay is that if he was fit all year round, I would argue he'd be the best centre back in the league. If he was fit the whole year round, but he's just not, and it's not helpful. But let's put Evans and Maguire in.
It's mad that neither of us have even mentioned Siunchu, who was in the team of the year last year. It just sort of shows, like, he's a good player, but I don't know. It's weird, but I'll rate Evans and Fofana better than him, and I still think he's a brilliant centre back, which just shows sort of how much our squad depth is slowly improving. The fact that we've got 3 very decent centre backs. Johnny Evans probably will need to be replaced over the next year or so, but having 3 centre backs at the moment, just brilliant options.
And I think it echoes what we talked about where Leicester City are now. I think that because you do have more squad depth than you had beforehand, I think that makes a huge difference when it comes to competing for the top 4, solidifying those things compared to other teams. Left back, Luke. I'm no arguments. Luke Shaw. No arguments. Luke Shaw. I'm sorry, Anne. I'm sorry. Luke Shaw. Nothing else.
Yeah, only just because you would have maybe been able to have a conversation about it if James Justin hadn't got injured, because he was having a brilliant season. But Luke Shaw has been absolutely terrific this season, and I completely agree he gets in this.
Okay, right back.
I would have said Ricardo Pereira, but he's injured. So help yourself, because we've got Mark Albrighton playing there.
I mean, I know. I was like, Wan-Bissaka hasn't had his best season, but he still would probably go ahead of Mark Albrighton. And we don't really have.
That's nothing against Mark Albrighton. I really like him as a player. Obviously, brilliant player to be able to fit into multiple positions. Hard worker, brilliant to bring off the bench and stuff. But Wan-Bissaka is just sort of different gravy.
Castagna
Stanier's good left back. He's been solid for us, but Shaw has been brilliant.
Yeah. And yeah, Moses Justin is unbelievable. I agree. I think that when I saw him, I was like, this guy's is playing is he playing a move away from Leicester City type of sort of thing? But obviously, as you said, he's got injured, which is unfortunate. So our two midfielders. I mean, I think I already know. I mean, if I say these two names, let me know whether you think that this works. Ndidi, Pogba.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, yeah. I love Tielemans, but Pogba, he's right up there with like the very best midfielders in world football. I know you haven't seen that a huge amount at United, but on his day, he's one of the absolute like elite midfielders in world football. So yeah, I've got no arguments about that. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying it, and in my mind, I'm like, I just wish that Ndidi was at Manchester United. It's the one player, Leicester City, that like I really, really, really want, because he, you know, I don't think I don't think this has been his best season. I actually think that he actually was better in the season beforehand, from what I saw, but he's still.
I personally disagree with that. I'd think this season he's come on massively. And like his ball winning ability's always been top draw, but it's more his side on the ball this year that's developed. The sort of progressing the balls, playing those balls sort of through the lines and stuff. He's still not got that like top level sort of on the ball ability, but it's definitely improving and it's definitely a lot better than it was. And people forget as well about him. He's only still 22, 23?
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. So, he's got a lot of, and you know, and I wouldn't be, you know, if Leicester City were mid-table, then I wouldn't be surprised if other big clubs started sniffing around, you know. But obviously, because Leicester City are where they are, and obviously can command, you know, very very high transfer fees, you know, I think he's probably going to be at Leicester City for quite some time, and I think he'll certainly be crucial for what happens next season. So yeah, I think we agree on Ndidi and Pogba. Now goes the front three. So let's start right wing.
I'll say Rashford right wing. Oh, Rashford's not available, is he?
Yeah, Rashford is probably So I think you're probably. I'm not including Rashford or Cavani. Or Martial, because I think that, or unless the comments can correct me, I think all three of those players look like their Carrick Knox are injured. And obviously Bay, so I'm removing all those four. So we're not left with a lot.
Right. I'm gonna go Mark Albrighton. Right wing, Mark Albrighton. What else do you want me to say? I can't say Harvey Barnes. Can't say Ricardo Pereira.
How can we have Mark Albrighton in a combined 11 of United and Leicester? Like that cannot be allowed. That I'm not disrespecting Mark. He's a Premier League. He's won a Premier League medal, you know. But I mean,
who else are we going to go? Actually, I know who we can go with. Iosi Perez. He can play on the right.
Okay, yeah. Well, Jamie Vardy's fit, right? He's fit.
Yeah.
So you could. So we have Vardy. So in the United options, you could play. Actually, Kobe agrees. I guess the United ones, you have Greenwood and you have Dan James.
I'm sorry, you're not putting Dan James ahead of Mark Albrighton. Show the man some respect.
He is. To be fair, you're right. He is a Premier League winner. Mark Albrighton is a Premier League winner. And to be fair, the comments agree. Kobe says, and these United fans say, why not Iosi Perez and Mo Iosi? So, yep, okay. I think we can put Ozi on the right. So far, what was it? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Leicester players, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 United players. Okay.
The interesting thing about Perez on the right is like a lot of, well, I'd say about 50-50 with Leicester fans would rather see Albrighton play on the right than Perez. Because with Albrighton, at least he's got probably one of the best deliveries in the box in terms of
Fine.
our team. And then
Fine.
brilliant work rate, but he's just not the flashy goal scoring sort of winner. And he's not a top name, but he's just sort of, like that solid Mr. Reliable player that you put
James Milner type.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's not going to get any headlines, but he's a good player to have around the squad.
Fine. Right. I'm going to make a case that Bruno is a number 10. Is there any debate?
I can't really argue with that. I could put a case up if Maddison was available, but I think, well, our number 10's on the wing, so yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So Bruno. Right. So our left winger, well, like I said, we don't have Rashford, we don't have Martial.
We don't have Barnes.
Greenwood isn't really a left winger, really. So really, the only United player that could play there is Dan James.
Castagne's sometimes played on the left wing this year as a left mid as well. He's done all right down that side. So, or so's Albrighton as well. But it's not the best pickings, is it, for a left mid?
It's not. If Rashford was fit, he would go there as well. Even Martial, I'm not sure, but I mean, Kobe says Diallo is a right winger, and to be honest, he's not really played. I genuinely think that he's more talented than Dan James. So I think if he had a run of games, and he would be play on both sides, but just because of the fact that he's not played enough games, so it's very difficult to say you definitively go there. So United don't really. I mean, the only thing I could say is that like you could potentially put Tielemans where Pogba is and put Pogba on the left, because that's where he has been playing for Manchester United.
But one thing you could do as well is, we saw it a couple of times this season when we've had injuries, is Vardy's played down that left-hand channel with Iheanacho up front. So could potentially do that, but I don't know. It's not his natural position. It's very much. What's the expression? Square pegs in round holes.
In round holes, exactly. I'm like, is there anyone that's fit in the Manchester United? Because Pogba has been playing on the left for quite a few games, and certainly in the game against AC Milan, he was picked to play on the left wing as well. So I'd almost be more comfortable playing Pogba on the left, because at least I know that he's played there quite a few games a season. He's consistently can do things from that side, and then bring in maybe a Tielemans in that midfield, and then put Vardy up top.
Yeah, well, on form, I'd argue Iheanacho goes in this team over Vardy.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I know most is Vardy on the left and Cavani. I don't think Cavani's fit. That's the thing. Otherwise, I probably would have done that, Vardy and then either Cavani and Iheanacho, but I don't think Cavani's fit. I'll just double check that, but I'm fairly sure he's not fit.
Isn't Cavani he's like 70% fit or something, but he doesn't want to play if he's not 100%?
Not 100%, exactly, yeah.
I don't blame him. Like, it's not what you want to hear from one of your sort of main players, but when he's out of contract in the summer, at the end of the day, he's looking after himself and his career, because exactly. It's not as if he's a Manchester United man either, is it? So
yeah, and at the end of the day, he will want to try and get a move, and it's going to be difficult for him to get a move if he's injured. Mo says, I think he is. I'm not sure. Maybe he is. He is. It's just I wouldn't be surprised if he picked up something. So, so what we're going to do here then? So I guess the options are Vardy on the left and Iheanacho up top, or Pogba on the left, Iheanacho on top, and then you bring in Tielemans in for that midfield option, or I bring in another United player like maybe a McTominay. Oh, well, not really.
Don't compare McTominay to Tielemans.
Scott McTominay, like a Scottish rubber man, so like, he's something else.
To be fair to him, he has come on a lot this year as a box-to-box midfielder. He has improved massively. So credit where credit's due. But I think
you're the guest. So how do you think we should sort this out? Vardy on the left or Pogba on the left?
I would go. Wait, it's neither of their natural positions. I'll go Vardy on the left and then Iheanacho up top. But you can easily make a case for Pogba on the left because he did win you the game against Milan on the left, didn't he?
Yeah,
coming off.
He played against Liverpool on the left, and to be honest, he's been playing on the left pretty much since the beginning of this year because Martial's been out of form. So when because essentially Solskjaer's dropped Martial, and when Pogba's fit, he will play Pogba on the left. So he'd rather play Pogba, Rashford, and Greenwood than Martial. But then when Pogba got injured, Martial then came back into the team and with Cavani and what have you. But if Martial is injured, Pogba will come back in. So
go for Pogba because he's at least played there more than twice this year, which is what I was going to
okay, so we'll put Pogba. So does that mean that we're going to put Tielemans at number 7?
Yeah. The Belgian star man.
And then it's even pronounced. Maybe I've spelled that right. Iheanacho. I spelled that right.
You've misspelled it. It's the Nigerian R9.
In fact, that's what I'm going to write. That's what the Nigerian R9. I did that with Zlatan in my Milan preview, but that is what I'm going to do. Kobe says, love Iheanacho. Had him in my FPL last week. Well, lucky for some, I forgot to put my FPL in, and I had blanks with I don't know who I had blanks with, Bamford or something. So that wasn't really helpful. So this is our combined 11. Obviously, Casper in goal, then Shaw, Evans, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, and ndidi, Tielemans, Pogba on the left, Fernandes, Perez, and the Nigerian R9 in the Iheanacho. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to Leicester, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to Manchester United. So that is interesting. That is definitely interesting going into the game at the weekend. And just to round things off, because I know we've not almost been a bit of an hour now. Score predictions, man. What do you think the score is going to be?
The thing is, we haven't been to a semi-final in the FA Cup for ages. Huge game for us. I think for you guys, you get to quarterfinals a lot more than we do. So I almost feel like it's a slightly bigger game for us. I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester, and I'm quite confident just because of the circumstances of you playing on Thursday night, coming to play this on Sunday. I think us having a week break's absolutely huge for it. And yeah, the one thing that goes against it is our record against you is horrendous.
I am going to go with 2-1 to Manchester United. It's the opposite. I agree with you that I think that our players are tired, but I think that with the likes of Van der Beek and Pogba, because I suspect he'll probably play those. We have players that have just come back from injury that will be more that won't be as tired. So the likes of Pogba and say Van der Beek, for example. I don't know about Rashford yet, but I suspect those guys will be out. But certainly in the midfield area anyway, we'll be able to replace our players. And on top of that as well, there's just this weird thing away from home. Like away from home, we just have a really, really good record in the league, in the Premier League, and even to a certain extent in Europe. I'll bet 1 or 2 games. So I don't know what it is, but we seem to get the job done away from home. If we were at Old Trafford, for some reason, I'd be a little bit more worried. But I think away from home, because of just how we've been and with the players that we've got back, especially for me, this game is won if Pogba turns up. If Pogba turns up, because suddenly you have Pogba and Bruno that are creating things in the team, as opposed to just Bruno Fernandes, and you just isolate him and nothing happens. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and saying about away being better away from home, that's very, very similar to what ours is, because I think Leicester and United have got the equal sort of amount of points away from home this year with the two best away records in the league. And I think it's both sort of the way that we set up as we're both more comfortable on the counter attack, sort of sitting deep, allowing teams to sort of have the ball and stuff, and not the precedent being on you. So I think there's huge similarities in between the two ways that both teams will play.
No, I agree. I agree. Right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much, guys. Please head over to his channel. Link will be in the description. LCFC Boys. Got a lot of good content on there. And as you said, actually, tell me a bit, just to round up, just a bit about your channel, what you're going to be doing with it going forward, etc.
Yeah, so my channel, obviously not this season, but normally I go home and away with Leicester, match day vlogs, fan chats outside the ground, match previews, transfer news, all of that good stuff. And then hopefully, as we heading towards next season, I want to be doing some live content, more like what we've been doing today, and sort of making it a little bit more interactive, as well as keeping what I've already got. So make sure to come over, check out what we're doing, and my content is normally based around actually going to the game, so it's been a bit difficult to really keep sort of up to doing what I normally do. But I've had to improvise and try my best, as everyone has during these periods.
Fair. Thank you so much for coming on. And Kobe says thanks as well. Thank you, Mo, and everyone else that was watching. Remember to tune in, like the vid, subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Have a nice evening, guys, and cheers.